Welcome everyone to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Kendra Grams, pastor at First Presbyterian Church in Hudson, Wisconsin, and thrilled to be back with another conversation focused on mental health and the various supports we have for mental health throughout our community. Today we're focusing on the Hudson School District, and so I am very pleased to welcome for this conversation Tara Gonyer, the Chief of Schools for Hudson Public Schools, and Sally Piernot, whose title I believe is Prevention Specialist, yes. And I'll let her explain that in a moment. But yes, let's go there to introductions. Tell us a bit about yourselves, what you do, kind of the scope of your work for the school district, and why you're passionate about that. Maybe we'll start with Tara.
Yep, I'm Tara Gonyer, Chief of Schools for the Hudson School District. I'm entering my third year as Chief of Schools. I oversee student services, so we're talking anything from special education to nursing services, gifted and talented, ELL supports, and under that umbrella falls prevention and mental health work. So a lot of umbrellas that are in my department, but very excited and passionate about the work in mental health. We are a district of 8 school buildings with 5,000 students that are counting on us for supports in this area. And so we are working diligently on providing those supports, and we'll talk about some of that today.
Great, welcome. And Sally, tell us what you do as prevention specialist and why you're passionate about that.
Sure. My background is that I'm a social worker, and I've worked in a number of different settings, higher education, mental health work, hospital social work, and now I'm here in the schools and really enjoying it. So my role as prevention specialist is to focus on alcohol and other drug use prevention, and hand in hand with that is mental health promotion, because we know those two things always kind of pair together. Can't have one without the other. And passionate about this work because I think our schools are such a special place for our kids. And in order for our children to get the best education possible, we need them to be in a state ready to learn. And so a huge part of that is their mental health and well-being.
Great. Well, so let's talk about what you're seeing, kind of the state of mental health and well-being. What do you see in the schools? What are some of the concerns? What are the things that are seeming to go well?
So it's no secret that anxiety and depression are up amongst youth in Hudson and Wisconsin and across the country. That's been on the rise for the last 5 or so years. And so we are seeing exactly our data here in Hudson mirrors state and national data. So lots of students are experiencing high rates of anxiety and high rates of depression. We see that play out in school with school avoidance. Kids are struggling to get to school, to stay in school, and really needing higher level of supports. We also, one thing that I'm really passionate about and digging into is a lot of our students are not getting the basic self-care that they need in order to be mentally well, including sleep, which is seems so simple, but a lot of our high school students in particular are self-reporting that they are up very late at night, usually on their phones, chatting with other friends. And so then by the time 6 a.m. rolls around and they've got to start getting ready for school, they're struggling.
Absolutely. I have a little one that I caught reading late at night, so I know that those healthy habits take a lot of effort by everyone.
And they go a long way. They go further than you may think, just to attend to those basic needs.
Yes. So thinking about if that's the state of what you're seeing, what are some of the supports and programs that you're working to put in place across the district or at specific buildings to help address that?
So we have quite a lot that we do, and it varies depending on level. We have school counselors in every building. At our elementary level, they are coming in and teaching classroom lessons that focus on identifying your emotions, more life skills type things. Then at the middle school level, we have some similar lessons focused on more social skills. We teach about mean versus rude versus bullying and what that looks like, and also run some small groups for students who maybe feel like they need to build a better connection with friends, have some executive functioning skills that can be brushed up or enhanced. And then at the high school, we kind of continue all of the above, as well as having more intentional meetings with counselors one-on-one. There's both, the mental health meetings with counselors as well as like the post-secondary planning things. So all of that gets kind of rolled in. Those are the things that are available to all students. Some extra kind of added layers of support that we have are our co-located mental health therapists. So these are therapists that are not employed by the Hudson School District but work for individual agencies and have availability that we basically give them a space to work. So they can meet with their clients who are also our students during the day. You know, it's still, they've got the connection with their parents to make sure that insurance and everything like that is on board. But that allows a student to get a therapy appointment during the day rather than having to leave, travel, and it just allows a more seamless day for our students and less loss of learning and classroom time.
I think another piece to that and it was important is we have MOUs, agreements with them to then talk about what they are seeing with our students so they can get to them on a deeper level and what is the pattern that we're seeing so we can address some of those things. Along with the therapists, we also have social workers. We have 3 social workers and we are proud that this year is our first year we've increased our middle school and our high school social worker to full-time. We have an elementary social worker that does have 6 buildings full-time, but very excited that we had mental health grant dollars to increase the support of our social workers for families and students.
That's great. I know working a little bit with the high school social worker, that's critical wraparound services to support all sorts of things so people can focus on learning.
Exactly. They do a ton of work about connecting families with resources, whether it's for basic needs, whether it's providing homeless services and education, connecting with the county when that is appropriate. So it really helps families get what they need.
Great. I wanted to follow up on one thing you said. You mentioned executive functioning. I'm not sure, I know as a parent, as I've worked to support my kids through their particular needs, the whole concept of executive functioning sometimes flies past us. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is for those that aren't familiar with the term and what the intersection with mental health is?
Sure. So executive functioning really talks about are students able to organize themselves in their lives and make decisions in ways that are supportive. So when it comes to like classroom behaviors, some of the executive functioning skills that we focus on are simple as far as like middle school students all have an academic planner. Can they write down every day what they're expected to do so that when they get home, they know what those expectations are? And some of that can also help with impulsive behaviors and decision making. And so that's when we see sort of impulsivity or poor choices manifest in behaviors that has an influence on just all their brain development and all that fits back into their mental well-being.
Yeah, I would say a big piece is that organization piece.
Yes.
How do they manage their day? Are they getting to classes on time? Do they have what they need? Are they ready to learn? And we find that is a skill lacking in many students. And so there's lots of supports out there to support them along the way.
Yeah. And as you mentioned from the top, anxiety and depression aren't
Yes.
going to help with those.
Exactly.
So it's just going to compound.
Right, and when we can have someone who's got strong executive functioning skills, they're less frustrated in class when they're running into barriers that can lead to more anger. It all just kind of scaffolds in together.
Yes, right. Well, so let's talk about some specific programs that you've been up to as of late. What are some newer or renewed things that you've done lately that you're really excited about?
I'm really excited that we now have DARE at every elementary school this year. The DARE program has come a long way from what a lot of us experienced in the early 90s, and it's much more of a decision-making model, talking about consequences, positive and negative, peer pressure, positive and negative. So our school resource officer, Tracy Hall, has been teaching this year in the classrooms, and so in this new defined model, DARE stands for define the problem, assess your options, respond, and then evaluate that response, which I think is a great life lesson for students to learn, both, not only in situations where they may be faced with drugs and alcohol, but when it comes to healthy relationships, when it comes to behaviors and anything like that. So we have our first DARE graduation at Hudson Prairie this week, and it's very exciting for us, and just really glad to have that program in the buildings.
That's great. And what age group within the elementary school is that focused on then?
5th grade is the primary DARE curriculum. They do have different lessons at every level that hopefully at some point we can get into more classrooms, but right now we're really focusing on 5th grade.
I think it's important to note with DARE, we also have partnered with North Hudson PD, and she's supporting North Hudson Elementary and Holton. So we've worked with other people in the community to get to all of our buildings. It also is funded. Sally works really hard on writing grants for our district, and so it is grant funded. Without those grants, we wouldn't be able to do those things.
Yes.
And that's great to know in our current day where all the resources are coming from, because it takes so much to
Yes.
support students. Great. And I know you had a recent collaboration with the library. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we did a partnered book study on the book The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, which has been getting a lot of press this year. It's a new book and has a lot of compelling evidence about the impact of technology and social media on our youth, as well as the importance of free play. So we partnered with the library, which was great. It was not just limited to district families, but to anyone in the community. Mental health is a community-wide issue that needs community-wide response. And we had 2 sessions that were well attended and had really great conversations about, we've got this information and this data about maybe the impact of technology on our youth. What do we do next? How do we make the best decisions to support our kids?
Great. Did you have any earth-shattering solutions?
It's all difficult, right? And so I think it was interesting to have parents of some older teens, some young adults in the room, as well as my children are young. My kids don't have social media. They don't have cell phones yet, but it is a constant conversation about when is it appropriate? How do we teach our kids to make a phone call without anxiety when you don't have a landline in your home, but also learn how to handle these things responsibly so that they're not running into, whether it's online bullying or exposure to adult content that we don't want our kids to see. It's an ongoing conversation. And in fact, we've got more events coming up that are going to kind of continue this conversation and focus on what that looks like for our kids.
Great. So maybe go there. What is upcoming then for that topic or the wider scope of your work?
We're going to be doing a movie screening of the movie Screenagers, and our first screening will be January 30th at the high school, 5:30 to 7:30, so stay tuned for more information for that. We're going to be partnering with the elementary, middle age group, and then we will do one for the older high school group as well that we will do sometime in the spring. But we're excited about that. Just, again, more learning for the community, for students, for families on all things screens.
It's an evolving topic for
Yes.
sure.
It is.
And in terms of thinking about how you plan for the future and continue to put in various supports system-wide and continue to evaluate that, can you tell me about the state of that work and what you're trying to do to kind of plan for the future?
Absolutely. One additional thing that we are working on this year is we've got a partnership with the JED Foundation. The JED Foundation is primarily a suicide prevention program that started at university campuses and now has a high school component. So it's a 3-year process to work with JED, and the first year they do assessment. They come in and they look at the systems we have in place. We've done a staff survey of kind of what they know how to do or what procedures they would follow when a student is expressing suicidality or self-harm. And then in the second year, they write kind of a plan of implementation, and we implement in year 2, and then year 3 is evaluation to see how those systems are working. This is also paid for with mental health grant dollars, which is amazing that we have this opportunity to get kind of outside experts to look at what we've got and help us build that up. We have a steering committee of staff. We had a lot of staff interested in serving on the steering committee because they all care about these kids. And so we've got a team that's a cross-section of the building, support staff, teachers, lots of different departments represented. And so that is a project that we are really excited about.
That's great.
Think of like strategic plan as we're working through our district strategic plan. This is going to be our mental health strategic plan on what we do. And yes, it's high school focused, but we know what best practices we can hopefully do in middle school and elementary as well.
It's great, like scaffolded down.
Yes.
Exactly. Yep. That made me think of another thing. I know you do a lot of support for staff as well to have those many ears, many people caring, including various trainings. I don't know if you could speak to that for a little bit of some of the things. I believe they do mental health first aid and other trainings on regular cycles. Are there other programs like that as well?
We do that. We've also started a book a book kind of library for staff, and we've got staff input of all different books that they want to learn around the mental health topic. So that was something we did last summer. Books checked out very frequently, and so we came back with more topics, staff input, and then we've also found ways to get staff not just the hard copy of the book, but can they pick up a device, get it easy, and so we are appreciative of the middle school library who is helping with that and giving just staff more opportunity to learn on their own time, and whether it's professional development when days are limited, they can just pick this up, read on the weekend, and take a book on vacation if they'd like.
And I know, I'm sure many of them do.
It
because they
is-
are dedicated.
They
and
do,
passionate.
yes.
They do.
So we will
Absolutely.
keep supporting them in those areas.
That's wonderful. Anything I've missed? Any other things that you all do that you'd want to highlight, make sure people know about?
I think therapy dogs is a big one. We work with an organization called You're Not Alone. They work primarily in schools in Minnesota, and we partnered with them starting last year with a dog at the middle school. That went well, and now we have 4 of our 8 buildings with dogs in them. So our therapy dogs come once a week for a couple hours a day. And it's been a real positive piece for not only students, but staff. We've had the therapy dogs attend on conference night. We've had them attend on professional development days when only staff are there. It's a nice positive piece that we're getting really great feedback. And so, yeah, that's a good one to highlight.
Yeah.
Hoping to get a dog into each building.
Yes, that's their goal.
And that's a fun thing, right?
It is, and it goes a long way to climate and culture in the buildings, and just we're in the dark days of winter right now. It can be easy to walk around without realizing you've kind of got that cloud over your head. When you see a dog, it's going to brighten your day.
Kids are excited.
Absolutely.
You can tell the days that the dogs are in the buildings. People are excited to see.
Makes it.
Yeah, it does.
Well, speaking of the dark days of summer, we're recording this in about mid-December, so it's not only the dark days, the holiday hoopla
Yes.
is rapidly approaching, which can throw off schedules and impacts lots of things. You both work with people regularly on their mental health and wellness. Do you have a tip, a reminder, maybe something we all know, but we just need that nudge as we head into the holiday season and the new year? What would you say? What's one tip or reminder you'd give to support mental health and wellness for all of us?
I think it's something we all know, but we need reminded constantly, is doing something that you enjoy. Taking time for yourself. We are very busy. We are both parents, but also our well-being is just as important. So we can be good parents, we can be good employees, we can be good friends, we can be good coworkers, and just finding those things that you enjoy and making the time to do it.
Great reminder.
Not that I always take my own advice, but remembering that where we live and getting outside is hard and makes a huge difference on the days that you can get out for a quick walk, get a little vitamin D, whether that comes from the sun or from Walgreens, it always helps support your mood. So getting outside as best you can is my advice.
Also, excellent advice.
Hard to do.
Yes.
Hard to do. Hard to do when the wind chill is what it is sometimes,
yes.
but we endeavor, right?
Exactly.
And that's an important reminder too, to just stay at it, right? And support yourself. So thank you both for all you do and what you do with all your colleagues to support students, staff, and our community, right, as it trickles out definitely into our community. And we look forward to hearing more in the future.
Thank you. And thank you for always partnering with us. We really appreciate that.
It's wonderful. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen in, and to the River Channel, as always, for hosting us and continuing this important series about mental health and wellness in our community. And until we see you again, we wish you all wellness and peace.